left over to store your most important documents. Imagine if a megavirus or a computer failure took out your bank, or all the banks for that matter. Are your banking records safe in your hands? So when they get things fixed and repaired, you can say, hey, look, this is what I had. You have it. I want it back. Is your personal data safe? Family records, addresses, phone numbers? Well, squeeze on over to freedomslips.com. Yes, that's www.freedomslips.com. Click the banner on the homepage for the EMP-proof bullet drive to get the full scoop of everything that we offer. So, folks, keep your data safe for your peace of mind. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
This is the people's war. It is our war. We are the fighters. Fight it then. Fight it with all that is in us. And may God defend the right.
Warning! Warning!
We gotta stop them! They're gonna kill us all!
See how the trouble you've started?
Be they the government, be they industry, be they organized labor, be they anyone, or human beings. Time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part. And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, upon the levers, upon all the apparatus, and you've got to make it stop. And you've got to indicate to the people who run it, to the people who own it, that unless you're free, the machine will be prevented from working at all.
Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported talk radio station, throwing ourselves upon the gears of the machine. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
You called down the thunder, well now you got it. Right, you tell them I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Revolution Radio. The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Hi, Christine Joanna Hart, and welcome to Global Consciousness. I hope you can hear me. I can't hear you at all, but I hope I'm coming through loud and clear. Sadly, I don't know whether I am connected or not. I really sincerely hope that I am connected. I'm going to be reading the works of a friend of mine tonight, the very eminent Egyptologist Norman D. Ellis, who I'm proud to call a friend, and I was chatting to her earlier, and she's given me full permission to read from her brilliant book. I nearly reached out for the wrong book just then. Her brilliant book, oh gosh, it's not imagining the world into existence. It is one of her other masterpieces, and it's in my library, so I'll just go and fetch it along here. And here we are. This is her other book, and it is called The Union of Isis and Thoth. And tonight we'll be examining Thoth, who some people call Angel Raphael. In fact, Angel Raphael is Thoth, is Hermes, and also is Mercury. So this is an entity, a demigod, stroke archangel, who is being given a massive, there's been a massive interest in him, and he's been called different names by different people. So we're going to look at him. We're specifically going to look at Normandy's work because it's absolutely brilliant. Now I'm going to be reading from The Union of Isis and Thoth. Unfortunately, Normandy couldn't be with us tonight, but she has been with us on previous shows. Her book is published by Bear & Co, and you can get it in the Occult Bookshop, which is next to the British Museum. So I'm going to start reading I'm going to start reading this particular book from The Consecration of the Moon Temple of Thoth. So, where are we? Okay. Nikki first encountered Normandy. This is Nikki Scully now. Normandy is writing about. Nikki first encountered Normandy in 1995. Our dear friend Dr. Mitch Stargrove, a naturopath physician, gave Nikki a copy of Normandy's book, Awakening Osiris, the Egyptian Book of the Dead. No book has ever before or since touched Nikki the way that book did. Sometime later, Nikki gave Normandy a cold call for which she received a warm welcome. We immediately recognized each other as sisters, and it has been an incredibly beneficial relationship for both of us for 2 decades. So these two girls became friends and they decided to work together, and Nikki built a temple in her garden in California, and she called it a moon temple of Thoth. Now, some of you aren't familiar with Thoth at all. So I'm going to try and explain him. He is what people call Angel Raphael, angel of the green flame, healer, magician, Hermes. He's called so many different names. So let's go into the part where she first mentions Thoth and the Moon Temple. Okay. Let's start reading here. It was always our assumption that our moon temple would be dedicated to Thoth. Many people believe that moon energies are feminine, so the dedication to a masculine moon god can be confusing. The goddesses who uphold the temple as its pillars, like the carotid in the Greek Parthenon, are female. Our side chapels are both male and female, so the masculine and feminine energies work harmoniously in our moon temple. The moon god Thoth is associated with the left lunar eye, while Ra, the ancient Egyptian sun god, is associated with the all-seeing solar right eye. We can't actually look at the sun except when it sits on the horizon, yet we see this round disk every single day. We can gaze at the moon, however, for an extended time and distinguish its various parts. The particular illuminated crescents through the 28 phases of its monthly cycle, as well as the new dark moon and the full moon. Added together, you arrive at 30 days to compose the whole of the month. An Egyptian month was calculated at 3 weeks of 10 days each and was dedicated to the moon god. He was called Thoth. Thoth's energy is mathematical in that the parts, the whole works together. Similarly, all the parts of our moon temple can be seen individually, yet together they represent the totality of Thoth. To reiterate, Thoth is the whole. The moon temple is thus the whole of Thoth, including both his masculine and feminine parts. And therein lies another mystery. Like his counterpart Hermes in the Greek tradition, Thoth is considered a hermaphrodite. He contains both male and female, like the two intertwined serpents on his caduceus staff, and like the odd dode, the 8 deities that are the 4 male and female. Okay, I'm not really interested in whether he's male or female. Some people are kind of quite obsessed with male-female. I am quite in touch with my male side, therefore I can see that actually we're all really, really alike. We just have different genitals. Some of us are in touch with our different parts, and we can see that very, very clearly, and therefore don't really make much of a fuss between male and female. I know I don't, but people do make an awful fuss about it. So I'm going to skip this because I don't actually care. Okay, the early Greek philosophers and later the White Brotherhood penned works that are remarkably similar and are attributed to the pen of Thoth, such as the Book of Thoth and the Hermetica. I haven't read any of those, but perhaps you should write down in a notebook that these would be interesting books to flick through. These and other titles are part of the Western magical tradition. So if we're going to be studying magic or the transmutation of energy, we should probably look at those two books and study them. The growing number of books attributed to Thoth arise from the pens of priests and priestesses through whom he writes and teaches. So Normandy is saying that Thoth, Angel Raphael, allows Earth people to channel him. So basically, this is what I've been studying over the past few months, that some people open up a channel and they call on him. He is supposedly the Archangel of the East. So you call on him from the East, call on Angel Raphael, you call on the green flame, and then you let the green flame go inside you, up all your chakras, and you burn him through your body, basically. And then after time, he will come and allow you to channel him. You can't be sure you're channeling Thoth. It might be an Archon. Who knows? I guess the idea is to keep your body clear, free of meats and fats and that kind of thing. And then you will probably be able to tell the difference with the vibration that's going on. But Archons are very, they can really con somebody. So you want to be careful with channeling, actually. We do not see this as the same as channeling. Okay, she doesn't see it the same. However, that might be just a matter of semantics. Yes, it is Normandy. He loves to teach through riddles, and according to the students' sensibilities, they may see, feel, hear, imagine, know, or any combination thereof. It's up to his students to interpret and convey the message. She's also drawing attention to a book called Gods of Ancient Egypt by Barbara Waterson. But however, Normandy is pretty definitive. As serious as the subject might be, Thoth has a way of making it both fun and interesting to learn with him, although he can be stern whenever it's needed. How the Egyptian civilization arose is a mystery, but its salient features were complete by the first dynasty, or were brought to completion with astonishing rapidity between the first and third dynasties, says American author and lecturer John Anthony West. He's written a book too, I think, but she doesn't mention it. Okay. In a few short centuries, Egypt seems to have gone from 0 to warp speed. How did this happen? Was it cultural inheritance brought from elsewhere? Maurice Doreal, 1898 to 1963, was a spiritual teacher and founder of the Brotherhood of the White Temple. That sounds like the Theosophists, which is Annie Besant and Madame Blavatsky, but I might be wrong. His interpretation of an ancient text that was issued as the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the Atlantean, a book of stupendous antiquity, purportedly written by Thoth himself, is considered authoritative. According to Doreal, Thoth first incarnated in Atlantis. So there, let's look at this. We're hearing the angel Raphael, Merlin, as he's known, Hermes, and also Thoth, first incarnated in Atlantis, where he was the son of the ruler there and a seeker of truth and wisdom. In that legend, when it became apparent that Atlantis would fall, Thoth used his craft, a vessel also known as an ark, to travel to and civilize the land of Egypt. So he came to Earth. That really does sound a lot like Noah, but never mind. He's a really interesting character, isn't he? And it's probably worth looking at the Emerald Tablets. I haven't read them, but I will. If we look at archaeological records, it would seem that Thoth's appearance in Egypt began as early as the pre-dynastic period, prior to 4000 BCE. He and a cow goddess, most likely Hathor, appeared simultaneously in the Sahara Desert at a time when the desert sands were a savanna. Possibly that occurred at a time as early as 10,000 BCE. I'm thinking perhaps these were what the Bible calls the Anunnaki. Okay, I'm going to slip through this. She's talking now about how he was known as Hermes by the Greeks and Mercury by the Romans. A consummate shapeshifter, Thoth is primarily represented by the sacred ibis. The ibis is a long-legged wading bird. Now, I think this is where we get angels from, because people go, oh, angels, angels, and you immediately think of those fluffy white-winged creatures that Doreen Virtue's made popular, and oh, angels. And you condition when you're really, really young, oh, angels, these good, slightly insipid creatures with white feathery wings, or not even feathery wings. You just kind of see them. And I was an angel in the school play. I think it was a green angel, but it's kind of rammed at you when you're young, and even if you don't like the sound of them or don't really believe in them, you're kind of fed them the whole time, and then you're fed these stories about, oh, an angel helped me and an angel saved my life, which even make you more want to throw up. And so by the time you're an adult, these kind of angels kind of make you want to barf, really. So you're kind of like sickened by the very sound of them. So if I can pull that pull that word out and replace it with something else, replace it with avian, A-V-I-A-N, the avian gods. So you've got demigods who are avians. So that means they're like the birds. So they, we believe, came down and mixed with matter and actually formed the birds. So the birds are part of the avians, and the avians are these Anunnaki creatures, and they did form us, and they are more intelligent than us. And one of them is this particular one that we've given names to. Thoth is a name, angel, fluffy winged creature, Raphael of the East, magician, healer. So this is a creature that has been around Earth since time began and present day. We're just conditioned right now to not see this creature, not connect at all, because we're too busy with our iPads, too busy making money, so we don't really look in this direction. But it is a massive resource for us, this particular creature, that does seem to come when one calls, and does seem to be able to clean energy and to raise you up and update your system and your DNA. Sheshet and Ma'at are Thoth's celestial companions. Sheshet shows herself to the author as a substance of the stars. She is the cosmic dome that is Akasha, the record in which everything is written. 7 flower petals or rays of starlight. In some depictions are the hieroglyph of her name and extend from the pillar above her head. The 7 rays of Sheshet's star evoke the 7 stars that we can see in the Pleiades star cluster in the constellation of Taurus. These 7 stars and each of Sheshet's petals could be attributed to the 7 rays that are interwoven with Madame Blavatsky's theories regarding life matter, referred to in The Secret Doctrine. They're also referred to in the book The Great White Brotherhood, which I've got a copy of. I read many years ago, and it talks about the show hands and the different rays. Again, we've got the ruby red ray, the blue ray, and the emerald, strong emerald ray, which is supposedly the angel Raphael stroke Thoth that we are doing the program about tonight. So this is driven like writing on a stick of rock all the way through Earth's histories and all the way through any spiritual writings at all. And so we go on. The living atoms of matter in all things implies that even our galaxy, the Milky Way, is alive and sentient and has an evolving consciousness, says Theosophist and astrologer Douglas Baker. Douglas has written a book called The 7 Rays, Key to the Mysteries. So that will be worth getting hold of. It's published by Baker Publications, 1977. I'm sure Amazon has a second-hand copy. Douglas Baker, the 7 stars, one is not visible, of the Pleiades correspond to the 7 sacred planets, 7 chakras, and the 7 ray masters of the ancient wisdoms. The septenary nature of the flower of life demonstrates 6 satellite circles and the 7th hidden or synthesizing one that includes all the others. Sheshet holds the patterns from the cosmic dust all the way down to your DNA. She is cosmic memory and the timekeeper of the stellar mysteries, in the same way that Thoth is the timekeeper of the lunar, Atlantean, and Earth mysteries. As Thoth is the high priest of the mysteries, Sheshet is the high priestess, and as such she wears a leopard skin. That's how the Egyptian temples were built. The etheric blueprint for each temple comes from the Akasha, the matrix from which all of the elements are derived, wherein all knowledge of the ages is stored. The Akashic blueprint enters this earth plane and disappears when it is time for that particular civilization to end. So I'm just going through the book. I'm looking for a little bit more information on Thoth, who we are trying to find out more about him tonight. So Normandy is writing about Anubis, Sebek, Set, Heket, Toret. I don't want to read about them, so I'm just flicking through. And Ra. Ra is my favourite. Ra is the sun god. But tonight we are focusing on one particular. So I'm just going to keep going. Okay, now we talk about the 4 elements and the other presidents. Okay, I'm just going to go over them. Okay, before we enter the Moon Temple of Thoth to receive teachings, we must cross through the outer courtyard that fills the space between. This is where, weather permitting, we teach our class in the garden. She's talking about her life in California. And she's talking about direction calling. Here is where we call on the different angels in the different directions. Okay, in North America, the directions are called according to the way an intercessor or medicine man was taught. That can differ not only from tribe to tribe, but within that tribe. There really is no right way. What is most important is the honoring the elements and the gods and the goddesses of 4 directions include calling on the east. Now, the east is where Angel Raphael of the Green Ray is located. Healer, magician, Thoth, Hermes, Mercury. The sacred element of air, the mythological ark bird, which is Thoth, in his crested ibis form. So see, in the Egyptian Heka, he is described as an ibis, a bird. In the Christian, he's described as, there's that word again, angel. Let's cross that out and put avian. So here we're matching. They're describing it as a bird, and the Christians describe it as a bird too. As an avian. Okay, Angel Raphael, the archangel. So you see how it matches all the way along. It's very significant to the work of this book. It's fully realized human that the ark bird represents. It is seen in the form of the phoenix in flight, who will give us our final initiation to complete this particular round of the mysteries. Okay, and then we go on to the south and the west and the north. And I'm not going to go into that because tonight we're concentrating on Angel Raphael. So I'm going through and I am coming to a part where Normandy is talking about joining with Thoth. So here we are. I'm going to start reading from here. To build any temple, a craftsman needs the proper tools and must know how to use them. Over a period of time, Nikki and Normandy found that certain tools were beneficial to use at the beginning of each mystery school. They form the basis of the work that, when practiced repeatedly, provides many benefits and ongoing learning opportunities. The primary and most important tool on calling on Thoth is Thoth's caducees. Now, a lot of you will know, I've seen one of them. The medical profession use them. I've got one on my website. It's a two snakes around a staff with wings on top. This is Thoth's sigil, if you will, his calling sign. Okay, so we're going to talk about it now. Normandy has written about it. It's called a caduceus. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. This caduceus is a staff around which two serpents entwine and is surmounted by a diamond. A pair of wings extends, symbolizing the avian, extends from either side of the top, and the cobra's heads face each other to guard the diamond. The caduceus has its origins in ancient Egypt, where it was said to have been introduced by Thoth, and later was associated, of course, with all these other Hermes and Mercury, blah-de-blah. Okay, now one of these girls had an initiation into the union with Caduceus in 2003, and Nikki Scully wrote a book called A Chemical Healing, and she is going to write about her experience. No, Normandy is writing about her experience here. So you can do this at home, okay? So sit down, find somewhere where you can lay down and take a deep breath. The breath that we use to begin every opening circle, initiation, and journey is a primary tool that we call the heart breath. Versions of it were published in Alchemical Healing and in Nikki's subsequent book, Planetary Healing, and instructions are available. We recommend that when we begin our work in the temple, following the procession that ends in Thoth's chapel, we start by elevating our consciousness and connecting with one another, the family of the Neteru, the gods, the ancestors, by using the heart breath and the caduceus. What we offer here is a version of what we do. The heart breath practice combines the various elements of earth and sky that, when mixed with your love in your heart, work like a bellows to create a powerful heart breath. When we first learn it, we breathe separately the elements of earth and sky. So basically, you breathe in and you find yourself connected to the earth down below. You kind of send out kind of roots from your feet into the earth, and then you breathe up the golden energy through the earth, and then you imagine you from the top of your head stretching up into the sky, and then you take another breath, breathe in through the top of your head and let it send right the way through your body, and that is a sky breath. So you join the earth and the sky with your breathing. And once you have all the pieces in place, the simultaneous breathing of earth and sky creates the power of a single heart breath. So what you do is you're breathing in the sky, deep breath, hold it, and then send the blue sky energy into your heart and let it, almost like lighting a gas cooker, ignite in your heart. And then when you're breathing up the golden light from the center of the earth, send it to your chest area and almost have it like a match going to the gas and light up your heart. Feel it loosen and open. Breathe in and then breathe out anything bad and powerless and shitty, which is what we have to put up with most of the time here. So breathe in from the center of the earth, golden light, let it shine all the way up your body, lighting all your chakras, cleansing as it goes, and then coming to your heart and then igniting it in your heart. Breathe out anything shitty and boring, and then breathe in from the sky, bringing it down into the top of your head chakra, through your body, igniting in your heart this beautiful blue energy, and then feeling your heart area on flame, on fire, and that is what's known as a heart breath. So try doing that. That will really get the energy in your body, clear out any shit. If you've met somebody that you decide isn't the greatest person, that can be a good way of cleaning your energy. Once you are familiar with the heart breath, you will discover that you can direct it to any part of your body that needs healing and cleansing, to any person whom you wish to offer this blessing of these energies, or any place or situation in need of the nourishment of earth and the intelligence of the sky and a strong dose of your love. In a group situation, once everybody is breathing the full heart breath, it takes about 3 conscious heart breaths to join the heart flames of each person in the circle. You can use this tool and the radiance that the conjoined heart flames create to exponentially increase the potency of your work, whether it's face-to-face or via the technology of the internet. At first, it might take several inhalations to accomplish the heart breath. Instructions before the intentional exhalation that carries the healing energies you wish to send out. Knowing that this will become easier and easier the more you practice. The more you practice, the more you will integrate heart breath into your regular breathing without having to be conscious about it. Regardless of how comfortable you become breathing that way, it's important to take the time to deepen the practice as often as you can. The same can be said for the Caducees. The Caducees initiation confirms the balance, power, and stability that comes with Thoth staff. You can see this on my website, Chris Jo Hart, Psychic. Go there, homepage. There we are. You can see a picture of it. Sometimes you might see the wings. You might see them as the wings of an eagle. The doorways and hallways of most Egyptian temples depict the temple guardians, and they are the vultures and the cobras. Walk at a stride, you'll see them one after another flying above you as you pass from one portal to the next. When you look through the cobra's eyes... Have we skipped something? Okay. Have we skipped something? That's odd. I thought we'd skipped something. There's actually the part where you bring the staff inside you and look at the cobra's eyes. And I thought we hadn't come to it yet, but she's mentioned here when you look through the cobra's eyes. But never mind. You may notice that their unique sight and perspective uses a different intelligence. Cobras see with limited colour vision. Okay, so that's the next bit. We'll be channeling the cobras, but we haven't come to that yet. Occasionally, when you are in other cultures, your cobras will turn into anacondas, rattlesnakes, or other kinds of serpents to appropriate your setting. Keep your cobras and your caducees alive. Don't ever let them become ordinary. So she is advocating we internalize the caducees and have it inside us. So that's the caducees of Thoth, Angel Raphael. Check out what it looks like, because you probably don't know what I'm on about. If you don't have a daily practice, this is a good way to create one. The Caducees helps you to keep the as above and so below connected. Using this empowerment daily brings more nuanced power. Have I torn pages out of this book? I think we've missed out, but I'm sure she's going to come to it, unless I've torn pages out. Oh dear. Okay. It's important to have the staff refreshed and alive in preparation for any healing session, ceremony, initiation, or situation in which the balance and power of Thoth can enhance your experience. The golden rod of the Caducees will help support you and keep your back straight and strong. Refresh your wings often. You will find that when you raise the Caducees regularly, it's called raising the Caducees. Okay, I'm getting it now. It helps you to walk in balance. It gives you more energy and the strength and power to meet whatever comes towards you. It will help you to develop a strong relationship with the cobras and the healing energies of Atlantis, that they contribute to your life. I was actually told by someone that I was a healer in Atlantis, so I'm very drawn to, had flashbacks of a previous life where my father was a priest and was teaching me, and our palace had cobras. As I saw myself going through the entrance, and there was cobras everywhere. So it's quite interesting that the Egyptians did wear them hats with them coming out of the third eye. So they utilised this Caducees massively, all the Egyptians and all the pharaohs. Okay, I'm reading on. The diamond orb at the top of the Caducees surrounds the three main glands in your brain: the pineal, the pituitary, the hypothalamus, and is guarded by the cobras. The pineal functions according to qualities of radiance, light, and the rhythms of day and night, and is related to the third eye. The pituitary and the hypothalamus work together to balance you and your hormonal and nervous systems. Once the eyes in the palms of your hands are opened, as will happen in the coming shamanic journey initiation. Oh, it's up and coming. I haven't missed it. I haven't torn out pages. Isn't that great? Not as much of a scumbag as I thought. The more often you use the caduceus for healing, you may see images or have sensor experiences in and through your hands. She's talking about stigmata. For Nikki, healing isn't about seeing, rather about developing. Okay, now we're all ready, aren't we? We're dying to read what I thought I somehow missed. This is the hot breath and the caduceus initiation. Okay, so if you want to lie on your bed, get yourself ready. We'll go through this really quickly before we get to the hour. Ground and center yourself. Focus on your heart center and find the eternal flame, the soul flame that you carry throughout eternity that lives within the sanctuary of your heart center. I do believe this is called the adatum. As you bring it into focus, use as many of your inner senses as you can engage. See it, hear it, feel it, imagine it, or simply know its presence. When your heart flame comes into focus, feed it with love. Love is a fuel. Notice how your heart flame responds to the love that you pour on it. So pour lots on it. Remember nice times. Remember people that you feel warmly towards. As your heart flame grows and intensifies, place your attention deep into the earth beneath your feet. Begin to inhale as though you are drawing your breath from as close to the molten core at the heart of earth as you can reach. As you draw your breath up through the various layers and strata of earth, you are gathering the beneficial energies of all the elements, including the various minerals and gemstones, the roots and the trees and the appropriate medicinal herbs, flowers and plants. Feel that golden vital life fire energy fill you and come to rest in your heart center as it joins the love you continue to pour on your heart flame. When you are ready, exhale, as though the breath is radiating out from your heart in every direction. As your breath moves out through every cell and molecule of your body, it awakens the consciousness within, bringing you to a new level of alertness. For your next inhalation, extend your consciousness upward to the heart of the cosmos. That's the sky. Begin to draw down the light, the lovely blue intelligence from all the celestial bodies and the avians, angels to you, supportive stellar beings, and especially the intelligence of the field that permeates the universe and surrounds our planet beyond the net. Allow this light to enter through your crown chakra during your inhalation. So breathe in. Allow it to come down inside you, that clean blue light, as you draw this visible light down through your upper chakras one by one. Feel each chakra as it is touched. Let that higher consciousness enter your heart center. Breathe in. Hold your breath while the intelligent light from above mingles with the love you continue to pour on your heart flame. Get it really going like a furnace. When you exhale, once again in every direction from your heart, your entire body responds and awakens to yet another new level of awareness. On your next in-breath, simultaneously inhale the powers of earth and sky together until they meet at your heart center. Hold your breath for a moment while the powers of earth and sky mingle with the love that you continue to feed your heart flame over and over. As you exhale, your first complete heart breath, direct it with gratitude into the earth. The next full heart breath is offered to the sky, completing the vertical alignment and placing you at the nexus between earth and sky. As you once again simultaneously inhale the powers of earth and sky, continue to pour love on your heart flame. Hold your breath for a moment to witness the alchemy as the powers of earth and sky mingle with your love. As you exhale, direct your breath from the heart in every direction. As your exhalation passes through every cell and molecule of your body, cleansing you, you awaken, you become alert, refreshed with a higher intelligence. Each subsequent breath develops a brighter golden glow that extends all around you and spreads out beyond your body, beyond the walls of your sanctuary and out into the world, creating a bright light that casts a beacon that invites all of the universe beings who support this work if you're working with another person. Okay, ignore that. Invoke any personal spirit guides and helpers that you wish. So it's at that point you can call on Thoth. So Thoth is from the east, and you call on him. You offer your breath to him, and he will appear. You greet him with respect. You receive his blessing. He is pleased that you are making this journey towards him. For a moment, take your time to study his cadices. He is going to give it to you. It is a staff, and it's often a golden rod. Two cobras crisscross each other as they wind around the staff, their heads poised to guard the diamond orb seating at the level of your pineal gland. Notice the outstretched avian wings whose feathers vibrate with the slightest breeze or emotion. Thoth has feathers here. He's an archangel. He's not mucking around. He's a real deal. Thoth places his staff on your body, and although Thoth still holds the staff in his hand, a replica of the central rod enters your body and surrounds your spine. So feel it going inside you. Feel it melding with your bones and your blood and your flesh of your temporary body. It's mixing with the bone, casting out fear lodged in your bones, casting out any kind of curses, any kind of bad attachments, flinging them all away, clearing and cleansing as it attaches its golden liquid inside the very crusts and crumbs of your bones. You might feel a straightening of your spine as this golden liquid energy pours inside it. With the rod in place, begin the earth breath once again. Feel the ground beneath your feet as the energies move upwards. As your breath gets close to the surface of the earth, listen for the hiss of the two cobras that have now slithered into place beneath the soles of your feet. These serpents are the energetic forms of the cobras on Thoth's cadices. So you're actually entering into this archangel's power. On your next inhalation, feel the cobras with their feet fully extended. Hoods push open their eyes at the soles of your feet. They enter your body and undulate upwards with your breath towards your first chakra at the base of your spine. The sensual experience of their scales sliding up your body is not lost on you. Feel the magnificent and voluminous current of power that the cobras carry and that flows beneath them like a comet. As you exhale, the serpents intertwine your rod in your spine and crisscross each other as they explosively clear your first chakra, clearing and cleansing as it rises up. Your first chakra at the base of your spine is associated with the element earth. All negativity is purged. As you draw your next breath from the heart of earth, the cobra continues to rise. And when you exhale, they crisscross once again as they pass through your second chakra. Instantaneously, they clear out any emotional, sexual, and other issues around your reproductive system, nurturance, and parenting, regardless of your sexual history. The silky smooth scales of these cobras have a healing effect, cleaning the dirt that you've had within your system for year after year after year, cleaning your reproductive system, every tiny atom of your body. Your next in-breath coincides with the fiery cobras as they rise further up you, so that when you exhale, they crisscross through your third chakra, the center of your personal willpower and identity. This passage blasts away ego and apathy to make space for the strengthening of your courage, creativity, personal power, and passion. The transformative energy of fire brings you to a place of focus and clarity that strengthens your will and your capacity to be creative. With the next breath, the cobras enter your heart. They like to linger there for a moment to rest and enjoy the heat of the heart flame, and they learn your heart's unique signature. Notice how they curl around each other with satisfaction to be inside your human heart. Feel the comfort that is available to you in this developing relationship with these serpents. Allow yourself to open your heart to these energetic beings as the cobras ready themselves to move up the rod that is inside you. Inhale the powers of earth to support their upward motion inside you. When you exhale, they crisscross at your throat chakra, the shamanic doorway that moves your consciousness from your singular self into the higher realms of unified collective consciousness with the gods. Feel an alignment come together at your throat. It will become apparent when you speak as it enhances the power and truth of your words. Any tendencies to withhold the truth will simply vanish. From here, the cobras move carefully up through your head and stop behind your eyes. Allow them to look out at the world through your eyes. Notice what their gaze rests on. Now the cobras allow you to look through their eyes, which is a very different experience of seeing. Notice that they see in black and white with thermal signatures to help sharpen their vision. As they switch between thermal and visual sight, what the cobras show you that you cannot see as mere human. You are sharing the power of the archangels themselves. Now begin breathing again to take in the powers of the earth and support the cobras as they carefully rise up and out of your crown chakra as though reaching for the stars. As you exhale up towards the heart of the cosmos, they hiss. Their hiss creates a spiritual core, and soon you begin to feel a rain of grace pouring into your crown chakra and all around you like a column of golden light. Place your attention at your shoulder blades, where you can feel the feathers of great archangels' wings. Feel them slowly unfurl. Stretch your arms out to enhance the process of your living wings fully extended. The cobras move back inside your head. With your next full heart breath, refocus your attention on Thoth. He holds out his hand to you, the replica of the diamond orb at the top of his caduceus, which ends at the level of your eyebrows. He shows you its glittering brilliance before he places it inside your third eye, and it comes to rest on the top of the golden rod inside your spine. This rod ends just under the middle of your brain, so that the orb surrounds the three main glands in your brain, the pineal, the pituitary, and the hypothalamus. Initially, the brilliance of this light may blind you, so you may not be able to see anything for a short time, but do not worry. The cobras are your sentinels that guard the diamond on either side. The formation of the caduceus inside you is now complete for your archangel power. Notice how you stand in perfect balance and in harmony with the angels. Thoth offers you yet another gift at this time, while the energies are fresh and electrifying. When you exhale, the full power of this initiation comes pouring out of your heart, down your arms and out through the eyes in the palms of your hands, like great rays of green light. Take another deep and conscious inhalation from the earth and the sky. As the breath mingles, Thoth touches each of your fingertips with his angel fingertips. The following exhalation, the energies come pouring out of your fingertips like sunbeams. Because the newly awakened energies are particularly strong, you have an opportunity to use them for healing. Decide who would you like to offer healing energy, but use it and use it quickly. Once again, you thank Thoth and you ground yourself. Okay, I've now reached the beginning. Sorry, not the beginning, the end of the show. And I hope you've grasped that bonding with the archangels out there. You can use their energy whenever you wish. They're out there to be used. We have stopped calling on them. The Catholic Church want us to go through priests, but we have to become our own priests and our own priestesses. The church has fallen. It's given over to Satan. It doesn't exist anymore. So we can't sit there and just bathe in materialism. We have to become the priests and priestesses. We have to do energy healing on ourselves and on others, and we have to call on these energies that are available to us. They're not just there for the priests. Indeed, the priests, certainly in the Catholic Church that I have known personally, I trained with a Jesuit called Michael Barrow at the seminary in Osterley, and they were just using visions. They didn't want to do healing anymore. They had totally left that behind. They hear confessions, but they don't do hands-on healing. Why? They don't want to. They don't believe the Catholic Church should do that kind of thing. Why? Because they don't want us to know that we can do it. We just have to become one with these energies, and it just takes a tiny bit of effort. Doing what I've just read you from Normandy's brilliant book. You can buy it next to the British Museum. Again, it's called The Union of Isis and Thoth. Thoth being the Archangel Raphael that we have all heard about in meditations and read about in the Book of Enoch and the various books of the Bible. I'm coming to the end of the show now, so thank you for staying with me. And I'd like to thank Mr. John Rice of Large Kitty, who has fixed up my website for me. It was all a bit flagging website-wise for me, and so he's picked it up for me. So hopefully you'll be able to check that out and look again at some new things on there that I'm offering, which involves the essential oils and the aromatherapies to kind of purify your body to get you ready to do this kind of work. I myself took the Bach flower essences for a number of years, but you can fast track that if you know what Bach flowers to take and if you mix them up. So you can do what I did in 3 years in 3 weeks. So I will speak to you and work out which of the Bach flowers that you need. Then I will mix it up, and hopefully that will be something I can offer over the Christmas period, that kind of mixing and blending. So coming to the end of the show, I'd like to thank my producer, Russell. Thank you for producing the show. And thank you to my listeners who continue to make me want to do the shows. And thank you to Normandy Ellis, who can be with us this evening, but who has shared a great deal with us through her great wisdom. I really do like all of her books. She's a fantastic woman. And I did interview her on an earlier show, so just go and check that out. That's there on my YouTube. Please do click and subscribe, and come and find me on Facebook, Chris Jo Hart on Facebook, and join me on Facebook. I think I've maxed out with friends, but you can hit a follow, and I do keep all my posts on public, so it would be nice to talk to you. So I do love getting personal messages from people that have listened to the show, and I do love getting some feedbacks. Please do come and chat with me. And the next show coming up in the next hour, I will be talking about the film producer Hugh Burnett. I'm going to do a dedication to Hugh Burnett on the anniversary of his death. Well, I'm a little bit out, I'm a few weeks out, but it's the anniversary of his death. He was my best friend, and so I'm going to talk about my relationship with him in the next show, which is coming up in the second hour. So let's just take some cleansing breaths in the last few minutes. And thank God that we're here. We have our health, a certain amount of health. We have our eyesight, hopefully. We have our voices to share. We have our lungs to breathe. Take a nice cleansing breath and relax. And all's well. There's nothing really to worry about right now. Try and live in the moment and stop projecting into the future. Take care, everyone. God bless. Thank you so much for listening.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Join the Sacred Matrix with hosts Janet Kira Lesson and Dr. Sasha Lesson, 6 p.m. Eastern Time here on Revolution Radio.
Here we free ourselves from the God spell, transform the perverted matrix to the divine one. We become conscious and we embrace universal, unlimited love.
We feature colorful guests and topics such as extraterrestrials, ghosts, interdimensionals, and aliens. We examine evidence, anomalies, archaeological ruins, and anthropology.
We explore past lives, future lives, life between lives. We get into astral projection, near-death experiences, archetypes, visions, and dreams.
Episodes include time travel, teleportation, counseling, spirituality, tantra, relationships, peace, shamanism, peak experiences, and ego transcendence.
Join the lessons Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com for the Sacred Matrix, a divine paradigm of love.
Take a look around, kid. What do you see? Homes being foreclosed, people working 2-3 jobs just to put food on the table and still drowning in debt. Don't get me wrong. This country is founded on great ideals and principles. They've all been ruined by the banks. Open your eyes to the banks that are robbing you. You know who my favorite president was? Who? Thomas Jefferson. Because he saw all of this coming and tried to stop it. He fought the banks. JFK too, and they killed him for it. The banking institution is more dangerous than an army, he said. He also said that every generation needs a revolution, Jimmy. The American dream is just that. Just a dream. War is a continuation of politics, only by other means. Politics is a continuation of economics by other means. This is our bank. This is our war. And this is our plan of attack.
Banks have become an essential threat to our democracy. So consider this justice.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the internet. Please help support this station so this battle can continue forward. Revolution Radio!
Looking for a nightcap to fill your listening needs? Come join us on Spaced Out Radio with me, Dave Scott, right here on Revolution Radio. Monday through Friday for 3 hours a night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, we will take you down the supernatural path. From ET contact to the paranormal and all of the spiritual, cryptid, and conspiracy stories in between. You can find us right here on Revolution Radio, at spacedoutradio.com, on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show. Spaced Out Radio. It's a night of talk and interaction. Are you experienced?
Did you ever feel that things were not quite right? That everything was just ever so slightly askew?
Do you have, to paraphrase Morpheus, a splinter in your mind?
If you're interested in hearing the latest information about UFOs, the paranormal,
ancient cultures and structures,
monatomic elements,
longevity,
fantastic discoveries in science,
download it to your brain,
then tune into us. Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Mackie.
And we are Shiny Side Out, Sundays 2 to 4 a.m. Eastern. See you then.
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Enjoy your extra big-ass fries.
You didn't give me no fries. I got an empty box.
Would you like another extra big-ass fries?
I said I didn't get any.
Thank you. Your account has been charged. Your balance is 0. Please come back when you can afford to make a purchase.
No.
I'm sorry you're having trouble.
Come on. My kids are starving.
Thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we believe in freedom of ideas, freedom of speech, but above all, we believe in freedom of existence through self-reliance. This station is 100% listener-supported, and as a fundraising promotion, I have a kick-ass free gift for a $100 donation. 35,000 seeds. 25 years in the freezer. Long-term storable, 54 different varieties. So if food prices go crazy, the shit hits the fan, or if you just want to save tons of money every year by creating your own food like I do, grab our seed pack special. Just look for the banner on the homepage at freedomslips.com. Don't be a statistic. Don't be part of the problem. Be part of the solution. We need, as humans, to start taking care of ourselves and not depending on the megacorps to provide unhealthy, nasty food. Included in this package is also a DVD with 900 survival and off-grid living documents and the offline home canning how to do everything website all on the DVD. So when you're growing all that food, you know how to can it, store it, preserve it, etc. with all these documents. So thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I hope that you will pick up this package and start learning to be free. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps and freedom is one seed that needs to be planted.
What we do in life, it goes in eternity.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Hi there, Christine Joanna Hart, bringing you Global Consciousness, my show live from London on this rather dismal evening in London. It's rather cold and rainy and awful, and I am going to have a show tonight which is near the anniversary of my very good friend Hugh Burnett, who is my best friend, and he died in 2011, and I noticed that there wasn't much about him out there on the internet, which I thought was a great shame because there really should be. I have his video that the BBC brought out of his program. He was the producer of the program. It was his brainchild. It's a program called Face to Face, where, excuse me, he interviewed Ronald Reagan and gosh, who's that other guy? I can't remember all the people he interviewed, but there's amazing Carl Jung. Oh gosh, I should have the thing with me, and I saw it the other day. He presented me with one for my birthday, just the year before he died. The BBC brought it out, and there's not much on the internet about him, so I wanted to do a show where I talked about my personal relationship with him and how I came to know him. I came to know Hugh Richard Burnett, or Dickie, as he was called, or Hugh. He liked to be called Dickie, but I think that was rather a kind of personal name he liked for sort of very personal experiences. He lived in a house on Richmond Green, and it was gated, and it had one of those lovely wrought iron gates, like something out of Great Expectations. And I was introduced to Hugh Burnett by a man who knew him, who was a literary professor who I knew, called Bill Goldman. And Bill was doing his thesis on Shelley, and I was interested in Shelley, and Bill and I would meet up for drinks. I was working for the News of the World at the time. I was living in Shad Thames, and I would ring Bill, and we had a platonic relationship, and we would arrange to go for drinks at the Swan, which is down by Richmond, down by the river, and we would have beers and talk about Shelley and, you know, he was good company. Bill was very good company. He was very intelligent, and I used to enjoy the evenings, drink Guinness, and then we would walk back. I would go back to pick up my car, and Bill lived in a flat on Richmond Green at the time, and I would park my car in his garden. So we would walk back, and no, I didn't drink and drive. I would just have one Guinness, and I would walk back to my car, and then I would go back to Shad Thames, where I lived. And one evening we were walking past this really beautiful, beautiful house that looked like the house of great expectations, and had these big iron gates, and it was absolutely beautiful. And he said, "Oh, I know the man that lives in there." And I thought he was lying, because I thought, well, who knows somebody as wonderful as that? It was next door, well, not next door, but a few houses down from Richard Attenborough. Was it Richard Attenborough or Dickie? No, Dickie is Richard. One or the other. David Attenborough. David, I think, lived a few doors down in one direction, and Richard lived a few doors down in another direction. So, and they are actually, I think, around the same age, Hugh, and Richard Attenborough, I do believe, perhaps. Is he dead now, Richard? Oh, I can't. Never mind. I've seen him quite a lot there, walking around the area. So, Bill said to me on this evening, we were coming back, he said, "Oh, I know the man that lives in there." And I thought, "Oh, you don't? It's such a gorgeous house, like it's Great Expectations house. You can't possibly." And my novelist's mind was like churning. I want to get in that house. And I said, "Oh, let's go in there, introduce me." And he said, "Oh, no, don't be silly, we can't knock at this time of night." And I said, "Oh, come on." And I kind of tried the gate, and it was open, and pushed my way in and went and knocked on the door. He was most mortified, but I thought, no, I really have to get inside this beautiful, big, awesome house. And so a man who kind of had a boyish look with dark hair answered the door. That was Max, Hugh's son. And he let us in, and I was ushered into the drawing room, and there was my first glimpse of Hugh. He was a good-looking man. He had white hair, and I put him about 60, but he was probably older at that point. And the first thing I noticed is he had a wolf on his wall. He had the head of a wolf, and it was a Canadian grey wolf with its teeth bared. And his room was amazing. He had this wallpaper that somebody had written all over. I think it was Carl Jung or something had written all over it and drawn. And so many books in his library, and this gorgeous fireplace, which was yellow stone. I'll never forget it. It was a really unusual yellow stone, and I tried to get that same stone to get myself a fireplace when I did own a house once, but I couldn't. And actually, I think I asked you at that point, and he said it came with the house, and it was so old and stained, but I thought it was beautiful. And he often had fire burning in the grate, and he had a leather armchair, wing-backed. He would sit in next to the window, and the window had those lovely ironwork lattice, like Tudor style, on the windows, huge big windows, huge high ceiling in his house with a chandelier. And I sat down opposite him on the leather settee, and I would always sit there. Often I would lay there. But on that first meeting, I sat there, and Bill was there, and I think he was quite attracted to me, and I was quite attracted to him, although we were friends. We were always platonic friends. But I remember thinking he was hugely good looking, and I went upstairs with Max to Max's room to see his snake. Yeah, this big anaconda snake, and I let this snake slither up my arms, and on the floor was a picture of Hugh when he was younger, and I picked it up and I said, "Wow, he's so stunning." He was really a very handsome man when he was younger. And I thought, wow, he's so good looking. And I went downstairs. I said, oh, he used to be really good looking. And he thought it was funny. And he said to me there and then, I want you to come back. And I looked at Bill and I thought, oh, I've kind of burst in and ruined this guy's relationship. He's not my friend and I'm ignoring Bill and blah, blah, blah. And I thought, oh, you know, what the hell at that point? I hope Bill is listening to this. I thought, what the hell, you know, I just really wanted to be this man's friend. And I kind of fell in love with the house, with the great who he was. He was highly intellectual. He'd been here, he'd been there, he'd done programs on, you know, heaven and hell and Jerusalem and South Africa, and he knew so much. And he'd been the producer for Panorama for many, many years. He was super posh. He had a really lovely voice like that was so oldie worldy. He reminded me of the chap of Brief Encounter, and I felt really sucked into a world of Brief Encounter where I could be Celia Johnson or something for a while. And I really, really liked what he had to offer me. And he said, come back. I want you as a friend. And I was thinking, I want you as a friend. And he said to me, for some reason, I brought up the fact that the parking in Richmond was really awful. And he said, oh, park outside our house and use the drive and park there whenever you come to Richmond. Because I went to Richmond an awful lot. And I said, well, every time I come. He said, yeah, what you do, you park the car on my drive, you go to the shop, and then you come back and you come and you have coffee with me. So I was like, oh, this is great, because I'm not very good at being social with people. I'm not very good at just popping around to see someone. It all seems so sort of fake, and I always feel that I should bring something or have a reason for coming. So this idea of that I had to go and not because I parked there, it kind of really suited me. I think it suited him. And so interestingly, for the next couple of years, I used his drive and I didn't bother going in. I didn't bother going in to say hello, which is so rude. But at the time, I was working as a journalist stroke investigator, and I was like really busy. And I would steam over to Richmond, go in all the shops and just buy what I wanted, like clothes and blah, blah, blah. And then I would think, oh, I haven't got time to see that guy. He's nice. I do like him. I haven't got time. And I drove a Silver Lotus with a soft top at that point. It was a beautiful car. And I would think, well, he's blessed having my beautiful car parked in his drive. There's he in a mansion. And so the drive, by the way, was kind of in this weird courtyard, and I would have to put a note in case any of the neighbours complained, because his, it was kind of like shared with the other people in this kind of little conclave. But I was in like his space, his kind of yard, as he called it. So, I just would drive off, and then I didn't see him for a couple of years, but I used his space every time I came to Richmond, which was about 3 or 4 times a week. I didn't knock, not ever. And it was a couple of years on from that he saw me sitting on the green. And it was when Private Eye had written a piece about me, and it was linked with the Real IRA. And I was sort of like, I don't know, a bit sort of shocked about it. And I was just sitting on the green in the sun and thinking, God, I've really upset this guy who was quite nasty at the News of the World, called Peter Rose, who's now dead. Thank God he's dead, because what a creep. And he was really making life difficult for me, saying I had to spy on the Real IRA and getting his MI5 contacts onto me, basically, and threatening me. And so I was sitting there thinking about all this, and Hugh came up behind me and he said, oh, it's you. And I turned and I said, oh, it's you. And I thought, oh, it's that fool that I've been using his garden to park in. And, oh, shit, does he want money from me or something? I went, oh, hi. Oh, and he sat down next to me and I showed him the piece. And he said, oh, it's so interesting. You're so interesting, aren't you? And he kind of rather flattered me into going back to his house with him. And I remember that I did like him, and I felt bad that I'd been too busy to socialize with anybody, actually, barring work people. And so I enjoyed him, and it got to a kind of thing where I would tell him about my problems and what was going on, and he would kind of offer me advice, and then I would leave. And so I went round more often then, and I often went round with puzzles and problems, and our relationship was born. And then there was a big break in it, I think, when I went to Ireland, and then when I came back and had my son, I would go round there with him as a baby, and Hugh would sit with Arthur on his knee. As Arthur got older, Hugh, who'd also published books on cartoons, he'd done cartoons called Adam and Eve. I have those books. He gave them to me, and he was irreverent. He didn't believe in God. He didn't believe in the afterlife, and I did. So I would bring like my aunt round to meet him, who's a nun, and I would bring her friend, Sister Mary Lou. And I remember going in with Sister Mary Lou, and I said, "Oh, hang on, I can't go in yet." She goes, "Why not?" I said, "Lipstick, makeup," and she went, "Lipstick, makeup, why does it matter?" And I'm like, "I have to lipstick," and she went, "Oh, I see." And I said, "Sorry, what do you mean I see?" And she said, "Hue, lipstick." And I never really put it together that I was attracted to him. I didn't really make that connection, but she did. And yeah, that was odd. But I kind of just left that in a compartment. And he became Uncle Hugh to my son, and we would go round there and cook dinner on Sundays and go and bring him ice cream. And he was very loving to my son, and he was someone my son could look up to, and someone really, really fascinating. My son wrote about him in a lesson where he was supposed to write about somebody interesting. He wrote My Uncle Hugh, and he wrote a story about how he lived in a house with wolves on the wall, and how he had a snake, and how he once owned a lizard, and how he had fought in the war in India, how he had written books and interviewed great people, and how he had white hair, and how he taught him to draw cartoons. And that was really nice for my son to know a man like that. And then as my son got a bit older, I didn't see Hugh as much, even though I did live up the road. Arthur and I got to the point where we would park our car in his yard, go into our shopping and our bits, and then he would say, "Oh, should we go and see Hugh?" And we'd look at each other and would say, "Oh, let's get home. We're so hungry. Yeah, let's get home. Let's come and see him another time." So it got to the point of me using him as a parking space again, and not bothering to go in, which was kind of horrid. But I remember being quite exhausted back then. Sometimes just wanted to go home and just lay on the settee. And it was when I decided to write to the serial killer, Hillside Strangler, Kenneth Bianchi. And I told Hugh that I was going to do it. And he had been very interested in the fact I'd met Ian Brady and talked to me about it. And he said to me, after I told him my idea, that I wouldn't get very far. He said, "Oh, I've Googled him, Chris, and you won't get in there." So I said, "Oh, okay." And Hugh and I would email each other quite a lot of times a day, like maybe about 10 times a day, and back and fro, sometimes just little quips. And that would go on and on. And I was always checking my computer to see what he'd said. There'd always be an email in there from Hugh that kind of were like a bit like text, the way we would chat to each other. We wouldn't write emails. We'd just say, "Hey, what you up to?" or something or other. Or he would just bring up a subject or send me something that he was interested in. And then I got this first letter from Bianchi, and I went round to Hugh's house and I read it out, and he said, "Oh, it's fascinating." And then every time I got a letter, which was quite often from Bianchi, I wouldn't open it until I got round Hughes, and we'd open it together with much merriment and laughter and sarcastic comments that were probably quite horrid if anybody had been listening in. But his helper Rick used to come by and look in on us, and he would say, "You two are like cackling like witches, the pair of you." And I suppose we were cackling like witches, making mean things. He used to love a mean joke, and he was the master of mean jokes. He was so brilliantly sarcastic, and I would absolutely piss myself over things he would say. He was so funny. Sometimes I used to go around his house and I used to be quite depressed over this or that or money, and he would just make me laugh. And he added so much to my life by bringing that humor, bringing that irreverent way of looking at things. He would always just look at me and say, "Oh, come on, that doesn't matter." And I think, yeah, it doesn't matter. And yeah, I really valued his relationship with me without knowing I was valuing it. And with the Bianchi thing, I then started to write a book about Bianchi. And I used to go around there every day. So I would get up in the morning and I would take my son to school, and then I would get in the car and go straight to Hugh's house, park in his yard, go in that beautiful iron gate and just plonk myself on the settee and write. I would open my laptop and basically I would write something and I would then read it out and say, "What does that sound like?" And he would say, "Yeah." And then I would go back and write some more. And we would sit in silence, just the tapping of my laptop, and sometimes he would shave, we would make tea, sometimes he would make tea, we would have ginger biscuits and lovely tea. He had beautiful teacups. I remember one time I went to make tea and I found these amazing plates, and they were blue with white lobster on, and the white lobster was lined with gold, real gold, like gold plated gold, but it looked gold, and the sort of strands coming off it were gold. It's like awesome. And they were from Mauritius, and I said, "Holy shit, look at these." And he went, "Oh, take them away, they're bloody awful." And they weren't, they were gorgeous. But he gave me half a tea set. He just made me take them because he didn't want to see them. And so I took them. And then there was another time where he brought in a suitcase and he opened it and there were pictures. And actually, I've been sorting them out recently, and they're like black and whites that he got from a museum. They're the property of the Museum Pommersorsis in, oh God knows where, somewhere in Italy. And he went to Rome to do a panorama program on heaven and hell, and he got all these stills of angels, and literally they're different depictions of angels, like, and they're quite realistic, really. They're not the fluffy white kind, they're the, like, real proper winged angels. And I looked through the thing and I said, "Oh my God, they're absolutely beautiful." And he said, "Oh, keep them." And so I kept them, and it was lovely to keep them. I noticed my mode of talking is just about to hit the deck, and it's not. Nothing is actually working here, so that is all a bit scary that I am not going to be on air soon. And there's absolutely nothing I can do about it. It seems that no charger is actually working. I will try that charger, but it doesn't seem to be. So I'll just talk as long as I can. And so he brought out this battered old suitcase and he gave it to me. So it was so lovely to have all these things. And he kept giving me things. And he'd been to the doctor, and I hadn't really asked why. But one time when Arthur came round and we had Sunday roast, he said, "Arthur, look after your mother for me, won't you?" And Arthur went, "Yeah, of course." And I looked at him. I was drinking red wine, and I didn't really think anything. I was looking out of his beautiful lattice window, and I was always daydreaming. I didn't really think anything. And that summer, I carried on writing the book. I got an agent. Gosh, I can't remember his name. He came round, and we had strawberries in the garden and lime juice, and I took a picture of the three of us. And we started working on the book. The agent worked on the book with me and was chatting to Hugh, and we carried on writing. I didn't have a title for the book, and then Hugh said, because Hugh knew he was in the book, and I called him Sebastian in the book. I've since changed it. And Hugh said to me, he kept talking about Sebastian, and Hugh said to me, let's call the book In for the Kill, because if you think about it, you're in for the kill in your journalism work, and Ken Bianchi was in for the kill, Brady was in for the kill, everyone in the book is in for the kill. So I thought it was a good title, and I managed to get a publisher, Transworld, interested in the book, and he was pleased. And I just went round there, and we just carried on writing, carried on mocking Bianchi's letters, and I went out to visit Bianchi. Couldn't wait to come back and tell Hugh what had gone on so we could sit and skitter about what Bianchi was like. And Hugh did this really funny skit of me. It was so funny, where this girl gets in a cab and takes her tablets. He was mocking me. Take your medication and then go and see your lovely mass murderer. And it was so funny. And he sat and wrote a whole book about me, called it Rosemary, and then said, oh, shit, I don't think I'll get a publisher though. And I don't know where the book Rosemary ever went. I think whoever got his things, I don't think they'll give it to me, but he told me he'd written this book. And yeah, it was that then went into winter, and I went off to Paris with my son, and I came back from Paris, and Rick, I went round to see him, and Rick told me that he'd gone into hospital and he died, which was awful. It was a really, really bad shock for me. And I went to the funeral, and yeah, it was just really awful that he hadn't seen the book get published. He knew it was going to be published. I had lost my best friend, and I would never see him again, and it just felt weird. The whole world felt a weird place without Hugh in it. You know, he was my best friend. He was someone I'd talk to so many times a day. I would go round there every day, and when there was a power cut in our house, everything went dark in the street. He was the first person that I rang, and I would say, shit, it's dark. And he was, you know, a friend, and it's not often that you can get friends that you just kind of pick up the phone and you don't even bother saying hello, you just go straight into whatever it is, which is a bit like our emails, and I probably should keep them all before they fade away. I don't even think I can access them anymore right now. Yeah, it's horrible when somebody dies, and it was horrible. His friend Rupert, who was really a friend of his son Max, and used to visit, I think, weekly and bring porridge. He was left everything in the will, so basically I didn't get a chance to get anything to remind me of Hugh, and I was so upset about that. But I came round one day, and there was a waste truck, and Rupert was there, and I said, where's his stuff and his clothes? And I was so upset, and he said it's all gone in that recycling truck, and he said it was all falling to bits anyway, but I would have liked my friend's dressing gown and his things, and I didn't get a chance to get them. It was really made me feel bad because I haven't got not one thing of his. And then after I went to his funeral, it was quite awful because there was a guy there who came up to me and he said, oh, who are you? And I said, I don't know why I said it. I said, oh, I'm a journalist. And he went, oh. And then somebody handed me some of Hugh's like cartoons, and he came up to me and said, oh, you can't have them. And so I took them and I kind of left, and I walked out of the funeral. I just wanted to keep something of his, and I felt I had to run away to keep them because Sky didn't want me to have them. And then his cousin, his nephew, got in touch with me and said, you know, you meant a lot to Hugh, and he told me about you, and he said, here's some pictures, and he gave me some photographs of Hugh, and that's all I've got, but at least it's better than nothing. But he had so much stuff that was just put in the recycle. You know, his books. I wanted to keep his books and his clothes and things. And I did want that wolf that sat on the wall, just because I thought, well, I could have it until I die and I could remember him. But Rupert had it. And I did say to Rupert, can I buy it off you? And he said, well, I don't want to make money out of it. And I said, well, I won't buy it off you then. Can I just have it? And he said, well, no. I'm going to speak to his wife. His wife died many years before. And he said, I'm going to speak to his wife's parents and ask what they want done with his stuff. He kept valuable stuff, but he recycled the bits I wanted. And I said, well, why are you asking them? Because the marriage went a bit bad towards the end, according to Hugh. And he said, no, the family want all his stuff destroyed. And I don't know, it made me feel weird. So I felt weird about that. And yeah, so that was that, really. People might wonder that, oh, I'm a medium, psychic, and I haven't spoke to my dead friend. Actually, I have spoke to my dead friend, and I first spoke to him, it was maybe about 6 months after his death, and I spoke to him, and he was very angry with me and said that he was stuck somewhere and he was reliving what he had done to people, hurting when he had ever hurt people, and he was reliving it over and over again. And I said, why are you angry at me about that? And he said, it's a Catholic version of the afterlife, and you're a Catholic. What, really? And then after time, I managed to communicate with him in a better way, mostly in meditation, but not really as much as I would like to. But it just didn't seem that our relationship is really, I mean, it was very much, oddly, I realized it was more physical than I gave it credit for, that we had a chemistry that I didn't really acknowledge at the time. Oddly, there was a girl I liked called Jackie, who I made friends with online, and Jackie was a crime. She liked crime. She liked writing crime. And I said to you, but I'd gone on this blog and I met this girl called Jackie, and I really liked her, and we were like friends. And he got really jealous of my relationship with this girl and came in without me knowing to this blog, calling himself Joe, and proceeded to be rude to absolutely everybody. And I didn't know it was Hugh, but I announced online that I felt that I was in love with Joe. So I had this weird chemistry. I wrote to the other girls, even though Joe could hear, but I felt really attracted to Joe. Almost felt like I was in love with him. And I went round to Hugh's and I was talking about it, and I said to him, because I'd told him about it, and I thought, has he looked at it? I said, have you looked at that? I said, there's a guy on there called Joe, and I've really got strong feelings for him. Like, it almost feels like I'm in love with him. And he looked at me and he went, I'm Joe. And I went, you're kidding? And he said, no, I'm Joe. And the way he looked at me was kind of very spiteful of Hugh. He did have a spiteful side, but he could be a bit of a see you next Tuesday. And he deliberately went in there, deliberately ruined my relationship with that woman, and trashed and was so rude to everybody. And I resent him for that. I do resent him for doing that. Yeah, I do. And that girl in question, I think she started hating on me. I think there was a review left on one of my books, and I swear it was her. and I left a rude comment, which was probably over the top actually and nasty, but my feelings were rather hurt. It's weird when somebody else gets involved when you're having a relationship with someone, then they always think that somehow you've egged on the other person or so, but people have their own minds. But never mind. So that was Hugh's bad side. He did have a bad side. He could be like that. He could be quite wicked. And I remember once he got an envelope from Kenneth Bianchi off me, and he wanted to keep it. And I said, why do you want to keep that? And I had Bianchi's poetry. He'd sent me his handwritten poetry. And I'd gone to get Hugh a sandwich and left the poetry on the side. And when I came back, I thought, hang on, have you gone off and photocopied that and scanned that? And he said no. And I said, I think you have. And I always thought he wanted the envelope to prove that it was Bianchi's actual poetry. And I was quite annoyed with him. We had this horrible argument. And then when I parked my car there the next time, he left a note saying, you can't park your car here. It's nothing to do with you. And I tore it up and thrust it through his letterbox, shouting out the word wanker really loudly. And then we made up again, of course. So it was like a really weird kind of intense relationship. But, I don't tune in and try and converse with him. I had a long communication with him, and it was a few years ago now, and he said to me that probably if we'd have been different ages and my age had been nearer his, then we would have had a relationship and possibly married, and that it should have been like that between us, and that he would wait for me. And I found that quite comforting to know that I had a friend that strong waiting for me, after I leave my physical body. But, I know there obviously there's going to be so many people there that I've met in previous lives and very, very intense relationships. But I do feel that I've known Hugh before in many other lifetimes because of the strong connection we had with each other that was more or less instant. And I always loved wolves, and there was one on his wall. And somebody said something about that, and I think it was my friend Susie, another friend that I fell out with some silly reason or other. And she said, oh, it's a sign. The wolf was a sign, because think how much you love wolves. And there was one on his wall. So that's a sign. And I don't really know what she meant by it being a sign. He had read lots of Colin Wilson, and he was very interested to hear that I'd met Colin, had a relationship with Colin, gone up, stayed at Colin's house, knew Joy, his wife, and had written to Colin for many years. And he was like, what's he like? And I said, he's a bit like you, Hugh. And I suppose the two men were alike. And what a shame I couldn't introduce them. Actually introduced serial killer Brady to Wilson, and I wish I hadn't, because I didn't get any thanks from it from either party, apart from when Colin Wilson wrote the introduction to Brady's book and added me in, although he didn't need to, and I then had to beg him to please take it out, and he wouldn't. Then he had the cheek to go to the police and said I got the Real IRA onto him, and the Real IRA had contacted him and threatened him that if he didn't take my name out of the book, there'd be trouble. And I knew nothing about anything like that. And I told Hugh that, and Hugh laughed and laughed. He liked to laugh about wicked things, and so did I. Maybe he wouldn't have liked Colin Wilson. And interestingly, I brought Greg Miskey, the News of the World editor, around to meet Hugh as well. And all Greg could say was, God, look, he's really old, and he's in that beautiful house, and he's just sitting in that chair dying. And and he said, is that it? Just life comes to this. We sort of get old like that. And I thought, God, is that all he can see? An old man. I mean, he's this amazing creature. I used to look at him like he was like 20. I didn't really see him as old, but Greg being kind of shallow, just thought, oh, it's an old man. I mean, you know, if you have a mind like that, that's just explored the universe. And he did so many programs on ghosts. He didn't believe in them, and yet he did programs on them. He wanted to explore every crevice of the universe. And he didn't believe in God. But I think he didn't believe in God because his son was stolen from him. He had a beautiful son and called Julian, his firstborn, and he died at age 11. He died because he put his head in a hole in the swimming bath underwater, and his head got stuck and he drowned. And his wife went mad, and so he lost his wife. And then the other son, he had 3 sons. The other son became a heroin addict, and he then died young. And so he lost 2 sons. He lost his wife, and he died. And he was just left with Max. And Max hated him, really. Max said, "You killed Mummy and you killed my brothers." And he blamed him for everything. So there's so much hate there. And then they didn't get on at all. There was so many rows. And then one time I came round and I said, "Where's Max?" And he said, "Oh, Max is dead. Max smothered himself or something." Seemingly, it's kind of weird, really, now I think about it. He smothered himself with a pillow. He drank too much, went to sleep on the settee where I used to sometimes go and sleep, and seemingly a cushion smothered him. It's funny, isn't it, really, because you think about it. Do cushions smother? And I always looked at Hugh and I wondered, did he kill his own son? But that's a horrible thought to have, because I knew he really, really loved Max, but they argued so horribly, and things were so beautiful in the house after he died. I hate to say that, but it's true. But Max was a nice man. But one time I was in Max's room when he was doing it up after he died, and I wanted to take some of Max's books on snakes for Arthur, and I picked them up. I said, "Oh, can I have these?" And I'd already had them in my hands waiting to take them, and he said, "No, they're Max's." And I looked at him. He said, "I want to keep all Max's books." And there was literally hundreds of these books, and I only had like 2 in my hand. I looked at him, and he looked at me. He said, "Well, they're Max's. I'd rather not give them away. I want to keep them because they're Max's." So I saw he didn't have any pictures of his wife. He didn't have any pictures of his sons, but he kept them all in his heart. He didn't have any pictures on his walls. And there was no one left when he died. There was nobody. There was nobody, really. There was, apart from me, who was treated as a journalist at his funeral. So it's kind of really weird, apart from by his nephew, who I kind of saw me running out because I thought that guy was going to take back the cartoons I had. So I've my cartoons of him, and I've the cartoons. I've framed some of them, the ones that he drew in India of the Memsahibs and the guys with the turbans. And I have a picture of him with a snake wound around him when he was in the army. I have his army records. I have all the pictures from when he did the Heaven and Hell. And I have half a tea set of those lovely blue lobster plates. And what else have I got? I've got a picture of him framed, and I've got... What have I got? I was so pleased that he gave me it before Rupert took the whole inside of his house and incinerated it. What was it? I was so pleased that I had it. Plates and something else, and he was pleased when he gave it to me. I can't remember what it was. It's some kind of ornament. Slips me now, but it's an ornament of some kind. And I like ornaments. I just recently acquired these 2 black guys sitting on a golden thing. They're bookends, but they're beautiful. They've got white turbans and they're reading a golden book. They're made of plaster and they're painted. They look really old. Something like that, and I can't remember what it was, that he gave to me and I cherished. It might have been in the shape of a bird, but I can't remember. So I come to the end of the show where I've been talking about, and my phone has lasted, so it's awesome. Hugh Richard Burnett, my best friend, and I really, really feel honoured to know him. I really feel honoured that I can do this show to honour him, that I can keep it for posterity. And he was someone I'll never forget. He's the most unique man I've ever met, and really, really fascinating. And I know he was super famous, and there was a whole page in the Telegraph when he died, and a whole page in the Times. And my son saw it, and he went, "Oh wow, he's really famous." And they actually said he was in MI6, and I didn't know at that point. Which, when all the Monarch stuff came, somebody put it to me that he might have been my handler, and I suppose he might have been, because he did constantly give me ideas of this and that. So I suppose he might have been. Who knows? He worked for the BBC. He worked for MI6. He was in the army for many, many years. He was an officer and a gentleman. And he enriched my life, and he enriched my son's life. My son is richer for knowing him and for having the experience of just going round there, of knowing someone who comes from old money like that. You know, we're quite blessed to know somebody from that world of chamomile lawns and, you know, that kind of old-fashioned, beautiful English existence that seems to have gone now. It doesn't really exist anymore. Really, it's been wiped away. And yeah, his house, I go around and see it, and it's, someone bought it, and they've made it all new. When he had it, there was something about it that had character and class, and now it's gosh, it's been painted, the front door glossy white, and these really trimmed bushes, and he always let them grow wild and ramble, the ivy all up the walls, and it's been cut away, and it's so sort of that nouveau riche kind of middle class thing that's so depressing somehow. And they always think you envy them, but you just don't. You think they're somehow in some kind of prison. So it's changed. It's not how it was. And I remember that day, and I feel bad. I got this agent, and I can't remember his name, Jones, and he was working on In for the Kill with me and working on the scenes, and the three of us with Hugh sat in his garden. He opened all the doors and the French doors, and we sat on deck chairs, and we had strawberries and sandwiches and lime juice, and I took a picture, and it's weird. I had this real strong urge to take a picture of the three of us, and the postman came, and I said to the postman, take a picture of us, take a picture. And he took a picture.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
message to our listeners. Revolution Radio is you. Thanks to your continuous support and participation, Revolution Radio will embark
to its 8th year. Yoo-hoo!
Bigger and better than ever. You, the listeners, have made Revolution Radio what it is. The #1 commercial-free talk radio station on the web with nearly 24 hours of live programming, delivering directly to you the most cutting-edge information available. You, the listeners, have become some of our most popular radio hosts. You, the listeners, offer feedback that molds our programming to appeal to a worldwide audience. You, the listener, provide eyes on the ground, reporting about newsworthy events in your area, and you, the listener, are the lifeblood of this station. We love you, and thank you for being a treasured member of our Revolution Radio family. From all of us to all of you, have a happy and safe holiday season, and let's make this new year a success once again together. Thank you.
Is your data safe? Do you have the necessary information to assist you in confidently living through just about any survival situation? Is survival and gardening, off-grid living, medical knowledge, or even natural or man-made EMPs on your list of personal concerns? Do you have your documents and your personal information in a safe place in your hands?